I wish I could say that it's a shock that someone died in Charlottesville, but I've been predicting just this sort of thing in radio appearances for months. The liberal media is dying to blame it all on Donald Trump, but it should look in the mirror. To begin with, the liberal media is almost entirely responsible for growing the alt-right merger of hate groups and internet trolls. Most people are well aware of the stifling political correctness that reached an apex under Barack Obama. People are sick and tired of being attacked and scolded by the humorless left-wing thought police every time they stray from the latest liberal doctrine. That created a large group of people who enjoyed tweaking social justice warriors, and some of them realized the easiest way to do that was with racial slurs. Every time some doofus leaves a noose on a college campus or says the N-word, it's treated like a national crisis. If you're an anonymous troll who enjoys getting people to react to everything you say, that's a feature, not a bug. All you have to do is say something racially offensive and all these people who studiously try to ignore you will go out of their minds. That racial element gave the Nazis, white supremacists and KKK mouth breathers a way to connect with the more socially adept trolls, making the Pepe the Frog memes. Of course, the media liberals fueled them as well with their hypocrisy. They painted every white supporter of Donald Trump or the Republican Party as a racist, even as they ignored and defended the vicious anti-white rhetoric that has become commonplace on the left. Just to give you a quick example of that, there was a hashtag that trended on Twitter after the attack called "This is not us." It started out as a way for white liberals to virtue signal, but it quickly turned into an all-too-typical attack on white people, America and Trump voters. Here are some of the most popular comments from the hashtag. This is not us, then who is it? 63% of white men, 53% of white women voted for KKK, endorsed Trump. The majority of every other ethnicity didn't. If you're white and you are trying to say this is not us, you are part of the problem. If you're earnestly tweeting this is not us, know that you might as well have been one of the white supremacists walking tiki torches. Every white person that tweets this is not us is being complicit in not addressing the rampant racism and bigotry that in the community. This is not us. Easy to say so. Unfortunately, you can't have the black, brown, Asian, Jewish, Muslim or LGBTQ experience to know this as you gaga. Prime example of a white woman using tag "this is not us" like this country wasn't built on slavery racism. This has always been America. This is not us is how white people try to absolve themselves from their complicity in white supremacy. It as much as your inaction fuels it. The biggest talking point white supremacists have are comments like these. Would that be true if the mainstream media actually treated these comments with the same sort of contempt it has for the alt-right? Nope. Yet these sort of comments are mainstream on the left. Let me repeat that. They are mainstream on the left. On the other hand, white supremacists are nothing on the right. David Duke is a joke. Richard Spencer. Let me tell you a little story about Richard Spencer. I was walking around CPAC and noticed an enormous gaggle of media surrounding someone I didn't recognize, who didn't seem to be drawing a crowd of regular attendees. As it turns out, the massive group of media people weren't following a big name. They were following Richard Spencer, who was later kicked out of the conference, presumably because the organizers never wanted him there in the first place. Yet Richard Spencer, like David Duke before him, is treated like some kind of rock star by the media liberals, even though he's a nobody in the conservative movement. Why? Because they don't care about conservative opinion. They don't care about conservative views. They care about creating propaganda that paints the right as a bunch of hood-wearing, Nazi-saluting scumbags. So, they treat Richard Spencer like a rock star. This creates a sort of Kim Kardashian effect. 95% of any influence Spencer has comes from the fact that anything he does is a big deal to the media. Why were Spencer and Duke able to gather even 500 tiki torch-waving idiots in Charlottesville? Because the media would cover everything they did with bated breath. It gave them a chance to feel important, to feel like they were making an impact. In fact, white supremacists have started to believe its own BS because they keep hearing it from the media. After fighting with Richard Spencer on Twitter, I still remember one of his fans claiming that white supremacists were an essential part of Trump getting elected. My response was, yeah, you guys made a bunch of Holocaust memes, called people cucks, and then you're all helping. The hardcore racists out there are pariahs everywhere except in the mainstream media, where they're treated as incredibly important. On the other hand, the same mainstream media that has elevated the alt-right has been silent as violence has increasingly become a mainstay at liberal protests, including the counter-protest of this event. A few shops getting looted or people getting hurt doesn't stop the media from describing a liberal event as a peaceful protest. Even the counter-protests in Charlottesville were widely described as peaceful. Yet, protesters chanted from the Midwest to the South, "Punch a Nazi in the mouth." A female reporter was punched by one of those counter-protesters, the organizer of the rally was hit, and other people were attacked. That's not peaceful. That's something liberal politicians should be asked to condemn. In other words, Nazi and KKK members are horrible. The violent liberal counter-protesters are also horrible. James Alex Fields, Jr., who appears to have marched at the rally before plowing into a crowd. "I condemn what he did. I also condemn the Bernie supporter who shot up a congressional Republican softball game. Additionally, I will condemn the next person on the left or the right who kills someone over politics, which seems inevitable when you have opposing sides carrying shields and weapons to political rallies. Those condemnations don't make a damn bit of difference as long as the liberal media keeps elevating white supremacists and excusing the violence of the alt-left. I'm genuinely sorry people are dying at political rallies, but it would be surprising if the death of Charlottesville were the last one. Their blood will be on the hands of the liberal media.